What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Today I want to talk about why nobody wants to walk the path to the soul. It's really simple. When we start to question this idea of who we are as a person, where we got this idea of who we are as a person, that's where we start to see why no one wants to walk the path, because no one wants to question their identity. I think on a very deep level, people have this fear that who they are, if it's not real, then the consequences of that would be too devastating. You can't really face that. The need for identity is a powerful, almost instinctual, very deep, primitive desire. It's a very unconscious thing. We don't think about it as we live our lives, but this idea of who we are as a person, it's been passed down through the generations since the beginning of humanity, basically, since the beginning of recorded time in history. We hardly question where this idea came from. If you look at it deeply, you will see that this need for identity is basically a survival instinct. It's based on the need to survive, for physical human survival, evolution, or what have you. It has some science to it. But to question this idea and to see that it's really just an idea and it's not real, it doesn't have any substance, it starts to shake your foundation. It starts to poke holes in the psyche, and that's unsettling, it's unnerving, it's disturbing. And most people can't hold such a state for very long. You might get to a certain point where you're like, okay, yeah, I can understand that maybe this identity is not me, but to really actually go into that inquiry and to go into it deeply, consistently, with all the strength and power that you have, that you can muster, and to keep doing that in the future, even to invest what you're going to be doing in the future into that as well. It takes a certain lifestyle, a certain attitude, a certain mentality, a certain orientation. Very few people will take it far enough. And but I propose that taking it far enough, you take it to the point where till you have a spiritual awakening, that will bring us the release that we're looking for, the freedom and the liberation and the value that we're trying to achieve by hanging on to this idea of who we are as a person. So hanging on to this attachment to our identity is basically a false imitation of the value that we would feel if we were to let go of that and to give up and sacrifice this need for security and comfort in the identity. At first, it feels the opposite, though. At first, it feels like your whole world's falling apart. Everything's crumbling. You're disintegrating. You're dissolving into nothing. You're evaporating. You're vaporizing. It's terrorizing, dude. Like, nobody wants to go near it. That's that emptiness. The nothingness. That's why no one wants to walk this path. The cost is very great. It's greater than you can think, because on an unconscious level, that's, you have to go into deep in the unconscious to get to that point. Once you get there, you realize how badly we're hanging on to this identity of who we take ourselves to be as a person, how much we need it, how much comfort it gives us, how much assurance, how much certainty, how much we depend on it. But the truth sets us free. That dependence is not the truth that sets us free. It's the direct antagonist, in fact. So we have to question this identity, and nobody wants to do it because it's difficult. We don't know what's going to be left. We feel there's no hope left. It makes us feel worthless. There's a lot of suffering involved in it, a lot of sacrifice. The cost is great. We don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns. There's fear. It's a whole array of forces that are preventing us from walking the path, from doing what we need to do to question this identity and find out the truth of who and what we really are. Most people on the surface, they just want to get by in life. And this identity has been doing its job. That's what it helps us do. But the dependence on that identity in the long run brings a lot of suffering, and it's caused a lot of human atrocity and a lot of devastation. So that's one of the big reasons why nobody wants to walk the path. No one wants to question this identity of who they think they are. People want to be sure, they want to concretize themselves, this ego, this personality of who they've built up, whatever identity characteristics they attribute to themselves. They need to hang on to them. They need to fortify them, because without them, they would face the emptiness and the worthlessness that they feel underneath. And on an unconscious level, nobody wants to go near that. There's very little support in the world for treading such a path and engaging in such an endeavor. John Dominique, the Soul Proponent.